for example, 2009 when the non-international armed conflict began. But it wouldn't be limited to only Boko Haram and the Nigerian security forces in terms of that armed conflict. It would look at any other allegation that fell within the scope of the court's jurisdiction. Of course, for the court to investigate and prosecute, we must be satisfied that these are war crimes and crimes against humanity. We're aware of a lot of obviously violent episodes have happened in Nigeria, but not all crimes correspond to the Rome Statute. So we would have to be obviously focusing on those which appear to be occurring in the context of an armed conflict for war crimes, to be in the context of an associated with an armed conflict, or otherwise a crime against humanity. And so finally, just to say, moving forwards, as I say, we will continue to work in a collaborative spirit with the authorities. We want to be able to encourage them and stimulate them, and to maybe be the stimulus that will try to galvanize calls for accountability that you have made and others have made. Maybe our presence as at the ICC with an open investigation will stimulate national activities to a different level. But if it doesn't, we also we proceed with our investigations, and we build our cases, and we see what impact we can have in terms of contributing towards accountability. And I very much take the point, as mentioned before. I think for the court as a whole, there will be a need to engage in outreach in the coming period to explain to different stakeholders what is the role of the court, how does it proceed, what are the next steps. And certainly in the interim, absolutely, I mean, we are taking steps during this whole period, even before, to identify evidence preservation opportunities, unique investigative opportunities, operational planning, looking at issues related to cooperation, looking at the security situation. So all of that planning is certainly already well on, in process across all prelim examinations, and that's something that we will be doing as we move forward. I hope that's useful, just as a quick overview. Of course, that was very brief, but as I say, very happy to be here and part of this panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rod, for these clarifications, and I think we've all heard as well your call for support. As we have seen, this culture of impunity goes beyond the Northeast conflict. This is not specific to this area or this situation, and this is the moment to let the opportunity to DJ Switch to talk about this huge and tremendous movement around NSAS movement against impunity for police violence. Catherine, it's over to you.
All right, thank you for having me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You see, we have a popular saying in Nigeria, wahala no dey finish, meaning the problems never end. You see, I grew up in a family of 8 where my parents really had their hand full. They worked to give us the best they could afford: education, Medicare, food, allowances, most importantly, a home. My parents taught us how to respect each other's differences, understand each other, stand for each other, and protect each other. I must say, my brother did take a lot of the blame for my many mischiefs. But unfortunately, in the late 90s to 2000, things took a turn for the worse when the Ishekiris and the Ijaws in Warri, where we lived back then, went into war with each other because of a failure in leadership and respect for differences. Many were displaced from their homes and killed. My parents lost a lot, and I had to grow up real quick. This was my first real encounter with insecurity, a lack of accountability, and irresponsibility. Nigeria is home to over 200 million brothers and sisters that are beautifully diverse in tribe and faith. But we lack education, a functional health system, electricity, we lack jobs, security. The basic things that any parent, guardian, and in this case, a leader should provide so that we can achieve our ambitions. Instead, these basic things have been weaponized by our leaders and used against us, used to lure us to do their bidding, used to oppress us, keep us too hungry to be angry, used to kill us. So, dear Agnes, it was indeed hopeful to see the new generation of Nigerians stand up for Nigeria, not religious or tribe-based. But if we don't act, this new generation will be haunted like myself, wiped out, or succumb to the will of a dying generation. But even a magician cannot perform one trick forever, because we, the Nigerian people, were tired. And for the first time, I saw Nigerians stand for each other in protest all over the country. End SARS. Now, SARS is the Special Anti-Robbery Squad Unit, which the government rebranded to SWAT, after disbanding the said SARS over 3 times and twice in 1 year. SARS have a track record of more daylight robbery than actual robbers. They've murdered more innocent citizens than murderers in the society, more rape than the public is even aware of, constantly exhibiting their lack of intelligence and training by harassing Nigerians, either because of how we look, the hair we have, the cars we drive, or if we have tattoos on our bodies. When you speak up and ask what you may have done wrong, they beat you up, lock you up, or kill you altogether. Now, this gave birth to a movement, End SARS, a movement against police brutality, which has since become a much bigger movement against bad governance. And the reason is simple. From the President, General Muhammadu Buhari, downwards, they are all SARS. You see, because this is a government, yes, that would rather silence and kill its citizens rather than be guided by their concerns and their cries. Hide COVID-19 palliatives, mind you, that were donated rather than feed its people. One that would rather spend quality time with his cows rather than address its citizens. The same government that chose to inject rogue elements into peaceful protests rather than protect its people, but choose to coddle terrorists. It is the same government that froze the accounts of protesters and seized passports, but cannot seem to trace the accounts that sponsor terrorism. It states in the Constitution that the security and welfare of the Nigerian people is the primary purpose of the government. But on the 20th of October, 2020, the Nigerian army, sanctioned by the government, stormed the Lekki toll gate in what I call a first wave of assault. No warning, no dialogue, just guns blazing, shooting into a crowd of the bravest set of people I have ever met. Braver than the men and women trained to be brave, braver than the government officials who sent them there. They shot at us with live ammunition. We braced ourselves, we screamed, we sang, we cried, all while waving our Nigerian flags. You see, as I witnessed people die, I truly believed we would all die. And so I started to live broadcast the insanity on Instagram, and I am not the only one. In a matter of minutes, dreams and futures were lost. Nigerians killed unprovoked. But the commander of the 65 Battalion, Salisu Bello, claimed to have given us water and drinks that night. But that is not even on the same continent with the truth. I have a clip recorded from the live broadcast where you can hear me asking Bello why they were shooting at us with live ammunition. His response was that my coming close to him poses a threat to him and he will act accordingly. Is this the act of someone who gave us water and drinks? I also have another clip from the same night where you can hear a lady's voice asking the whereabouts of the people that had been shot. Further proof that the bodies we saw were taken away by the army present. The army claimed to have cared for us. But when the Nigerians that were on that live, when they called ambulances to assist us at the toll gate, they were stopped and asked to turn back by the army. We were forced to have a crash course on medical procedures, attempting to extract a bullet from the leg of a protester until one ambulance came from the back. So please tell me, what then was their intention if not to kill us? At this point, we had counted 15 bodies. A few hours later came the second wave of assault by the Nigerian police. with the same modus operandi, killing, injuring those of us left at the toll gate. The same police also shot at us the next morning. Now listen, this is just one incident. There is Obibo, there's Mpo, there's Zabamari, many more. The Nigerian authorities, under the poor, corrupt and misguided leadership of President Buhari, down to his cohorts, Governor Jide Sanwo-Olu, General Takar Buratai, Brigadier Taiwo, F.O. Omata, Lai Mohammed, and many more. They have all tried severally to deny these events, while in the same breath contradicting themselves. This government continues to fail in doing its duty as what I would have called an elected government, if that was not riddled with corruption itself. And so today, I urge you, as members of part of the global governing body and other members not here present today, to take necessary and swift actions in ensuring justice is served to the Nigerian people. Through your investigations, I believe you will find ample evidence to bring charges against the elements in the Nigerian government. Please, please do not continue to place us at the back burner or say we are not a priority. Do not turn a blind eye to a nation with immense potential to be on the world stage if only these potentials are harnessed and not killed off. As Nigeria is a member of the United Nations, which says membership is open to all peace-loving states, it is evident in that statement alone the state of Nigeria has failed. Our leaders too greedy, too corrupt, and quite frankly, unequipped intellectually, mentally, physically to protect Nigerians or move the nation anywhere. If it is indeed true that the First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, can relocate to Dubai, citing insecurity in the presidential villa, Aso Rock, the most secure building in Nigeria, then I ask, where do we, the average Nigerian, go? Mr. Rod, you say your office has about 80 investigators. It was funny when you said it, but I can assure you, millions of Nigerians are willing to help provide all you may need to reduce the potential burden on this request. We only have our voices. That is all we have. As a people, we are using it to sorosoke. So please listen. As Agnes said, the country is a keg. It's sitting on a keg of gunpowder because of all the things that we have been deprived of. I am advocating for all types of peace, but justice. And through justice is the only way peace can truly thrive. It is now your duty to help us.
Quickly, why we are having this event now, this week, the International Criminal Court state parties to the Rome Statute is having its General Assembly. Concretely, for those who are not necessarily familiar with the international justice system, these are the representative of all the governments member of the ICC who are meeting every day. We usually take the opportunity of this assembly to organize a side event. This year, due to the COVID pandemic, as you can imagine, we were not in a position to hold this face-to-face event, and this is why we are having this live event, which is finally not such a bad thing, since it will probably allow more people to join and then hopefully expand participation to this event. We are also having this meeting conversation in a very specific context. First, the International Criminal Court Office of the Prosecutor announced last week that it was concluding a preliminary investigation into crimes against humanity and war crimes allegedly committed by Boko Haram and Nigerian security forces. So this decision will finally pave probably the way for a full-blown investigation to begin. And also a specific context, because almost at the same time last week, again, gunmen abducted over 500 students from a school in the town of Konkara in Katsina State, northwest Nigeria. And according to Nigerian authorities, we still have more than 300 students that are missing, and Boko Haram issued a video claiming responsibility for the abduction. So this conversation about justice accountability in Nigeria for these horrific crimes that have been committed this last decade is not only relevant, but also timely. So now it is my pleasure to introduce the panelists, all of them having been engaged in a way or another on this issue of justice and accountability for crimes committed in Nigeria. We will start first with Netsanet Belay, Research and Advocacy Director at Amnesty International, who will give an overview of the situation of the Northeast Nigeria, present the work Amnesty has been doing for years with its partners on this issue and discuss what should be done now. Then we will have the extreme pleasure to have and to hear the testimony of Amsatou Alamin, well-known activist from Maiduguri, Northeast Nigeria. Amsatou has been doing an incredible work in mobilizing and connecting women affected by the conflict and in this fight for justice and accountability in Nigeria. We also have the huge privilege to welcome with us Agnes Kalama, the UN Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial, summary and arbitrary executions, who has in her capacity investigated this very specific issue and will give us a UN perspective. Rod Rastan, legal advisor at the Office of the Prosecutor at the ICC, has kindly accepted to join this conversation. Thank you. And he will give us some insight on this recent decision that I just mentioned. And we will conclude with an intervention from Obianuju Catherine Ude, better known as DJ Switch, who is also a very strong activist and one of the leaders of the NSAS movement against police violence in Nigeria, and that you all have probably heard about. This will allow us to make the link with impunity for security forces beyond the context of the Northeast conflict. Last point, we will have a Q&A session after the presentation, so please don't hesitate to share your questions in the chat, and we will try to answer them in the second part of this discussion. Again, welcome everyone to this event, and now I hand over to Netsanet. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening everyone. As indeed Samira mentioned, we're gathered here today after a major milestone was achieved in the struggle for justice and accountability in Nigeria. Indeed, last week, the prosecutor has finally announced the conclusion of preliminary examination, and that the office is preparing to request authorization from judges to open full investigation. And indeed, this is a major milestone, and it came after a decade-long delay and inaction. But at the same time, we do believe this is far from enough. We argue that the prosecutor must urgently seek permission from the judges to open an investigation, and that the investigation must start as soon as possible. We also believe there is much that can be done and should be done in parallel on evidence preservation, on protection of witnesses, and on outreach to victims in Nigeria. Why are we saying this? Let me raise 3 points in support of this. The first and most important reason is the fact that these crimes continue to be committed and with no end in sight. As Samira mentioned in her introduction, Boko Haram has killed thousands of civilians, abducted women, girls, and boys. Its members continue to loot villages, murder people who try to escape. Just last week, we've heard of yet another abduction of 500 students from a secondary school in Kankra. Many abducted in the past have been forcibly recruited as child soldiers or forced into marriage and sexual slavery. At the same time, the Nigerian security forces have committed and continue to commit serious atrocities. They have arbitrarily arrested, detained, and tortured people fleeing Boko Haram's attacks. And this is not an isolated incident. It's happening in a mass scale. People are fleeing, are screened when coming for safety, and almost all men are arbitrarily sent to military detention sites without being accused or charged of any crime. Thousands are held for months or years in human conditions, where many died of thirst, hunger, or disease. Amnesty International estimates that at least 10,000 people may have died in detention already. Many women and girls in IDP camps have also faced rape and sexual violence, and Amsatu will talk more about this in her turn. And what makes it most tragic in this case is that it's the same family that is a victim of both Boko Haram and Nigerian military forces. And we've documented countless testimonies of victims, including in our latest reports published this year that looks into the situation of children and older people. So this will continue. The argument is that this will continue unless this cycle of impunity is broken, unless each and every official, each and every commander, each and every soldier sees that their day in court is numbered. The second and equally important reason is the fact that there is no justice so far and no promising prospect that the Nigerian government will ever investigate and prosecute these crimes. The prosecutor told us last Friday that the delay in concluding the preliminary examination was in part due to the priority given by her office to support Nigerian authorities in investigating and prosecuting these crimes domestically. This statement comes despite the fact that Nigerian authorities kept demonstrating year after year that they were willingly unable to do so. The fact is this, colleagues, since 2009, over 20 different forms of inquiries, commissions, committees, panels have been set up. All of this to look into crimes committed by Nigerian security forces, CJTF, and Boko Haram. I personally engaged in the two recent ones, the Special Board of Inquiry set up by the Chief of Army Staff in March 2017, and the so-called Presidential Investigation Panel established in August 2017. And what a waste of time it has been for victims who have high hopes of these proceedings.